Hello, Ryan here, and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all of the news from the week just past. Be sure to subscribe if you like what you see, and let's get on with it. This week, Alpha 317 remains in Wave 1, the Hull A is finally introduced into the build, plus we check out the latest ship from MISC. So before we begin, just a quick update on Alpha 317 and how it's progressing. It is still currently in Wave 1 with the concierge and subscribers. The last patch I did try, it was still way too buggy to expect to release 2 more waves. But as CIG mentioned with the first Wave 1 build, they are using this build to capture and monitor much needed data, and they did say themselves that it is in a much worse state than they would usually release a build to Wave 1, and that it is not for the faint of heart. So it sounds like they are trying to track down a certain issue, and having the larger player base of Wave 1 is to gather more data to get it resolved. So if you are planning to jump into Wave 1, it is not in the usual Wave 1 state. This feels far more like an Evo build than anything, so do expect there to be many issues. I have been jumping in from time to time hoping to capture some footage to cover the patch, but it is not in a good enough state to do so yet. Hopefully this next week CIG can get a fix for whatever the issues are that they're looking to track down, and it can get into a good state and start rolling out through the waves. I will of course keep you all up to date with 317's progress and be playing it on my streams, checking out as much as we can, so be sure to join me over at twitch.tv/supermacbrother if you would like to hang out with us all and check out what the patch has to offer. So this week's Inside Star Citizen kicked off looking at an upcoming concept ship, the MISC Expanse. Now they say we can learn more about this ship in the coming weeks, but the Expanse is an entry-level ship into the dedicated ship refining career. Now the ship is designed to fill a hole in the full mining, refining and selling cycle, eliminating that need for miners to travel great distances to refine their ores and then travel all the way back again to continue mining. So allowing miners to offload their saddlebags, have the MISC Expanse pick them up, emptying them into the ship's refinery, refining those materials and then being transported for the open market or stored for later. Now, like how the Prospector is the entry ship for mining and the Vulture is the entry ship for salvaging, the MISC Expanse is that entry into the refining career. So I would expect bigger dedicated refinery ships, not so much like the Orion, which does it all, but somewhere in between the Expanse and the Orion. Now, although we don't have an official price for it yet, I would expect in terms of real money to be around $140 to $180. But again, that is just a guess based on the Vulture and the Prospector and the size of the Expanse in comparison. But as always, I would definitely recommend grinding for it in-game and buying it using Alpha UEC when it does come in. Now we know that the Starfarer also has an onboard refinery, but the difference being is that the Starfarer specializes in fuel refining, not mineral or metal refining like the Expanse. So very different in their roles, and one of those differences is that the MISC Expanse has 6 reactors, allowing each reactor to perform a single refining process. Now this means you can have 6 different materials being processed at the same time, and I'd expect to only be able to have one type of mineral in one reactor at a time, as I suspect each material will require different conditions and processes to refine them. And I know it was mentioned quite a while back about how the process of refining ore into metal compared to refining minerals will differ. I will link my video below talking further about the ship refining process, as we heard from the EUPU team during a Star Citizen Live last year. I think it was about 9 or 10 months ago. Now the Expanse's cockpit is very letterbox with a really wide view, and it appears the dash will be quite similar to that of the Starfarer or the Freelancer, but with a more centralized seat, which is nice. Leading back from the cockpit is a small living section with a bed, storage and so on, and then into the rear of the interior you will have the operations room with a kiosk for interacting with the refinery and doing the whole process there, also allowing you to see into the refinery itself. Now the interior is actually split into 2 levels, with the bottom section accessed by way of a very small lift that leads to the entry and exit ramp. So a really small interior compared to the rest of the ship, which I suppose reflects the single occupancy starter career intention. Now CIG do say that this ship fills a very niche role and the gameplay won't appeal to everyone, which in my opinion is kind of one of the unique selling points of Star Citizen, is paying other players or NPCs to do the stuff that you either don't want to or are not skilled enough to do, creating that emergent gameplay. Now personally, I really like what it provides in terms of a support gameplay, and although it's not likely going to be something that I will do a lot when we have more choice of careers, but I do think it will be a nice contrast to things like FPS or ship combat, anything high octane, and I will certainly enjoy the day when I can grab a coffee, find some miners, or maybe supporting the mining division in my org, taking their ore on board and processing it for them, dropping it off to be picked up and transported. I do think a Q&A for this ship is very needed to get more idea into how it'll all work, but based on what we have heard in the past, the Prospector or Mole will drop off their saddlebags. The Expanse will either need to align to pick it up using the exterior pod device, or maybe just using a tractor beam on board, extract the ore from the saddlebags, and then either drop that saddlebag off for the Prospector to pick it up again, or maybe keep hold of it and refill it with refined ore. And of course, using the console in the back to process the ore, using similar methods to what we see in the refinery decks, but being far more hands-on with skill elements, and as mentioned in my video from 9 months ago, making sure that you don't ruin the material you're refining, or worse, blow yourself up. And I suspect it will take less time than a refinery station would, but yeah, definitely need that Q&A to get a better picture on how this process will go. But again, as a process, I think I will certainly enjoy it now and again when I'm after something a little bit more chill, but I'm certain it won't be all the time that I feel like doing that. But a nice new addition to the ship and career lineup, and I'm assuming the cargo refactor is a requirement for this ship to be fully working, so we can physically interact with the saddlebags first, but it is just a concept sale anyway, so I'm not expecting it in-game anytime soon. Now from here we had a patch report for 3.17 which runs through some of the various features coming to Alpha 3.17, like ship-to-ship refueling, which will also bring a rebalance to fuel usage and the removal of fuel scoops for certain ships. There are also updates to looting and item rarity, offering the chance to find items that used to be found in shops, some from Star Citizen's history, and even some entirely new items available to discover in the PU. Now I really want to get looking. There is also selling, of course, that is complemented by the updates to looting, allowing us loot goblins a chance to grab basically everything to make money. We will also see the first integration of the quantum simulation, which will begin affecting refuel and repair prices found throughout the verse, based on where the quanta are flying around using these services. Medical gameplay is getting a lot of attention and updates in 3.17 as well, with Lorville's new hospital now done, more variation to space station clinics, and a lot of balance adjustments and bug fixes to the medical mechanic itself. There's also DNA head updates for players' characters, an FPS weapon animation refactor, and updates to many of the FPS weapons as well, turret acceleration adjustments, IFCS quality of life updates, and fixes for cluster missiles to make them more usable again. There are also ground vehicle signature changes and the infamous ATC landing request keybind option, plus mining gadgets, clouds for Hurston, the MISC Hull A, and the very first river on Microtech. To learn more about what 3.17 does bring with it, be sure to check out my recent video talking about some of the lesser known features. Not that they're all that less known features anymore, but that was Inside Star Citizen. Let us move on. So also this week we had a deep dive into ship-to-ship refueling to help us get ready for its release in Alpha 3.17. The Galactopedia was updated, full of new lore and information about many systems and planets out there. The roadmap was updated as well, only a few changes, but as usual, I have covered them all in a dedicated video, which I will link in the description below. And finally, Star Citizen Live this week was an hour-long special for April Fools, with Jared and Jeremiah Lee messing around and having some fun. A great watch for some light-hearted entertainment, but no new information on Star Citizen for me to report. Still funny to watch though. So that brings us to the end of the show. If you do enjoy my content, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button. Also, I am able to do this thanks to my very generous patrons and channel members. If you appreciate what I do and would like to help make it even better from as little as $1 a month, all of the links are provided below.